Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Well, folks, thanks to the Wuhan virus and the economic lockdowns the virus spawned the world over, the past 12 months have been downright brutal for so many people. Breadwinners were forced to take benefits to get by as businesses collapsed. Surely the damage to the world economy is at the trillions of dollars level. But get this, some people are actually happy about this. In fact, these same people are clamoring for an economic lockdown to occur every 2 years. Why? Well, apparently kneecapping the economy will allow nations to meet their Paris Climate Accord targets. No, folks, this is not a premature April Fool's Day joke. And with more on this cockamamie climate idea is our friend Marc Morano, who heads up the Washington-based, DC-based Climate Depot. Hey, Marc, welcome to the Ezra Levent Show. Marc, we've witnessed so much nonsense from the climate change camp, but this really takes the cake, doesn't it? I mean, wishing a global depression upon the world on a biannual basis for improving our climate change record?
This is where we've been headed since they did the first COVID lockdown over a year ago. And what this was a new study in the journal Nature. And actually, oddly enough, guess where the researchers were from? The University of East Anglia, the heart of the ClimateGate scandal from 11 years ago, where they had the hacked emails show that there was top UN scientists conspiring. So we're getting a little glimpse into what their plan is here. And the study concluded that CO2 emissions need to drop by the same amount as the recent global lockdown every 2 years. So if you love COVID lockdowns, you're going to love the coming climate lockdowns to fight global warming.
Marc, let me take a wild guess here. These people espousing this advice and these opinions, I'm betting that they don't suffer at all during an economic lockdown, that while the entire world economy goes into some kind of a lockdown mode, their paychecks are somehow still going through. Would I be correct in making that assumption?
It is correct that every single person you see on your media platform, whether it's the mainstream media or on even cable news, CNN, all the network news, and all the government bureaucrats, all the local politicians, all the health directors, not a single one of them, or none of the journalists supporting it, are facing any kind of impact to their salaries and their jobs from this. And these are the ones I just watched here in Washington, D.C., local Channel 9. This pompous local news anchor gave a commentary basically saying we're still all in this together. Well, tell that to the restaurant owners. Tell that to the school children. Tell that to all the workers who have been affected, displaced, lost their job, and no universal basic income, which is what COVID relief is going to morph into, is going to help that. But this is essentially the elite class telling everyone else we're all in this together. We know we're not all in this together because it's been the largest transfer of wealth from the poor and middle class to the billionaire class in the history of our country.
Marc, if I think if I hear that phrase, we're all in this together, one more time, I'm going to have a heart attack. I mean, that has now supplanted the check is in the mail and hi, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you, as the biggest lie of all time. But, you know, Marc, what I see is that when these people in their ivory towers are espousing these kind of policies, it leads to a lack of empathy. We see so many people unemployed now. We see businesses that have been around for decades, not economic startups, going under. Also, the social costs. You see depression off the chart, rates of suicide, spousal abuse, if you can believe it. There is so much evidence out there to suggest that the so-called cure is far worse than the Wuhan curse. And yet these people want to inflict this grotesque misery on the planet every 2 years. I'm sorry, that does not compute for me, my friend.
Well, to be fair to the study, that's exactly right. This is what the advocates want to do. In fact, they're even saying now for the flying, they're talking about slowly allowing, more routes and international travel. Of course, you're going to need a COVID passport or a freedom passport, as they're calling it. But What they're doing is they're saying in the climate world that you have to have a morally justifiable reason to fly. This is what a climate activist, Eric Holtheis, has suggested. So think of that. During these COVID lockdowns, curfews, you needed a legitimate reason to go to the store. You had to have, essential services, only essential reasons. You had to be for medicine or food. Well, now they want to morph that over to the climate world in the form of lockdown. You want to fly for a vacation to Florida? Well, wait a minute. I don't think that's not essential. You've been denied. I had someone from East Germany, from former East Germany, showing me the regulations of East Germany. They're now morphing. The COVID lockdowns, the climate lockdowns are copying the East German government's old travel rules under this new climate emergency declaration that we're facing.
You know, Mark, it's just astounding. It just seems that so many people attached to the environmental movement have no basic understanding of economics. I mean, look at the damage these lockdowns have occurred. They don't care. And when we look back before this nonsense started, we had AOC promoting her Green New Deal. I think the off-the-lot price for that is something like $98 trillion. Yeah. And this is after what we just went through. Is there maybe some evidence here, Mark, that really the green movement is the red movement? What I mean by that is that these are really Marxists. They don't give a rodent's rectum about the climate, about the environment. This is all about the reset. This is all about communism, socialism. That's what's really driving the agenda here.
I think this is not, and let's update your phrase there, David. They don't give an anal swab about the climate. They don't give a Chinese mandated anal swab, the Chinese government. What they're doing, global warming is merely the latest scare of the last 50 years, the progressive environmental movement trying to scare us. In my upcoming book called Green Fraud, which comes out later this month, I devote an entire chapter to the 1970s global cooling coming ice age scare. They thought our fossil fuels were creating global dimming, which was going to cause a global cooling on the earth. That entire movement, guess what the solutions were to man-made global cooling induced by fossil fuels? It was wealth redistribution, central planning, sovereignty limiting treaties. I go through point by point of all the solutions in the 1970s. It is amazing. Nothing has changed. All they've done is plug and play environmental scares. You want to worry about overpopulation, resource scarcity, global cooling, global warming, species extinction, deforestation. It doesn't matter what the scare is, it's plug and play. The solution's always the same. And amazingly, it's a Green New Deal style solution going back to the 1960s of just basically government takeover of every aspect of your lives.
Yeah, so that really, I guess what you're saying, Mark, is there is nothing new about this so-called Green New Deal. It's just that they come up to the plate every decade or so and try another swing.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.